Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing tonight? Let's get this show on the road. I'm sitting in the Meijer parking lot. I went in because I had bought a Champion sweatshirt, but it's not a hoodie. So I wanted to see if they had Champion hoodies. I ended up, well, first of all, I bought this thing for my car. It's Old Spice, and it smells really, really good. I like Old Spice. I wear Old Spice deodorant. But then, are you guys ready? They had all kinds of shirts on sale. I shouldn't have gone into the Meijer tonight. So I bought this flannel. Isn't that nice? And then I bought this flannel. And then this one. And then this one. And then I bought 2 pairs of socks. They're like thick. They don't look thick, but they're thick. Do you see? These are to go with my new shoes that I bought. I know they look silly, but I think like it'll look real cute with a flannel thing. You see? Okay. And then I bought these striped socks. Aren't those cute? They're thick. They don't look like they're thick, but they are. They're like athletic socks. They were $5.99 each. And then I purchased something to review for my review channel. And then this is the Old Spice thing that I bought. So yeah, it's over here. Little late night shopping spree. These shirts were all on sale, so if you want to go to the Meijer, all of their fall flannel shirts are on sale right now for men. I don't know about women. And what I would have paid for a Champion sweatshirt is about what I paid for this shirt, so I feel like I got a pretty good deal. So now I have flannel shirts for this fall. Alex said Costco has really cute flannel shirts right now too, so I might have to go in there and look for some. I do not know how long this I was gonna say my training. I don't know how long this what do you call it is vlog is gonna be, because I'm tired. First of all, I'm really tired, and second of all, I did all my videos today, and then I did a live stream, and I wanted to lay down for a little bit, and I didn't end up laying down, and I have my personal trainer tomorrow. So yeah, that's that. Okay. Let's go. Where should we go? I don't know. Where should we go? I don't know. They're doing something here. They're like paving this area or something. I can't really tell what they're doing. But all of this road is closed off. The exit over here is closed off. What are they doing? It's like making noise. It's like this big machine. Oh, I think they're painting the lines is what they're doing. Maybe. Oh, I had a good day today. So I got a really good night's sleep last night. I finished Orange is the New Black, bawled my eyes out, if you watch it, make sure you watch it past like when the credits are rolling, because each person comes back and they show them like one last time as like themselves, like as, you know, not the character, but as the actor. And it's real cute. And then in the background, Tasty is like singing this song, and it's real sad. If you hear her right up to the very end, she like starts crying at the end. It was such a fantastic ending to Orange is the New Black. I know, I've read like, did I read a review or was I watching a review of, I don't know. But anyway, somebody was saying that they didn't really like the end of, they didn't like the end of it and blah, 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 whatever. I thought the end of it was so fantastic. I was actually talking to a friend of mine about it tonight, because we were talking about like the ending of TV shows, and I was talking about like the end of Lost and stuff. And I thought the end of Orange is the New Black was so well done. Like I really, really liked it. I actually wanted to go down there and then come back up, so I'm going to turn around. I thought it ended everybody's story, in a very, very realistic way, but B, like, some were hopeful and some were not, and I just thought that it ended the way, like, it kind of should end, you know, like, I knew it wasn't going to be all happy endings for everybody, but I just thought it was really, really well done, and I was really happy with it. And there was kind of a pivotal scene in the last episode. This won't ruin it for anybody, but so if you ever started watching it, Piper's fiance that was at the beginning of the series, he's like at the end of he's in the end of it too. And, like, she has a conversation with him, and it was kind of a really cool conversation about, like, you know, your past and who you are now and who you want to be in the future, and, like, who's your new version of yourself, like, on the other side of what you've gone through. And, you know, it was a really interesting conversation. It's like, I think anything that you go through in your life changes you, you know? And I think that it can change you for the better if you so choose to be open to the lesson. But I also think that there are a lot of people that choose to stay bitter about things. I know I have in my life. I've, you know, chosen to stay, like, embittered about embittered, is that a word? I've chosen to stay bitter about a situation and angry and resentful. You know, I used to do that in my past. I don't really do that as much anymore. And I think part of it is that I just have such an amazing sponsor who, you know, I'm so honest and talk to her about everything that goes on in my life. So anything that happens, you know, she'll say to me, well, this is an opportunity for growth. Like, do you want to work on this? And I never say no, right? Like, I'm not going to say that I'm never a little resistant, because sometimes I am resistant. But I always, like, end up working through it. And I think then you become a new person on the other side of whatever it is you went through. You know what I mean? It's kind of like doing an obstacle course or taking a class or, you know, whatever. It's like an analogy for in life is that you're not going to be the same person that you were on the other side. You know what I mean? You're going to have learned things through that. You're going to have changed and evolved, hopefully for the better on the other side. And it's kind of cool that you see that at the end with Piper and the choices that she ends up making at the end about being true to who she is as a person. And so I really liked that kind of discussion in the show, so to speak. And there were some other great storylines too. I think, you know, sometimes you find your purpose, you find your way, and kind of, you know, like Tasty's story, if you watched it, like, you know, she finds her purpose, but in a really random way, you know, and it's just really cool, and I don't know. And then there were some sad things that really that happened too, and, you know, I think that are very true to life, and I just thought the whole series was, you know, what's weird about it is that, was it last season? I don't think it was last season. I think it was 2 seasons ago, maybe. That was about the sisters. Like, that season made no sense whatsoever, right? But this season, I think, is one of the best seasons Orange is the New Black has had in a very, very long time. And I was super impressed with it. So, I finished watching that. I started watching Wentworth. You guys, for the life of me, and I don't know if it's been so long or whatever, I even watched the recap, and the recap made no sense to me. I was like, did I even watch this season? Like, did I miss a season? I remember, like, the fighting between Mari and Kaz, but, like, I don't even know what it's about. Like, I really, like, so much of it. The only thing that when I was watching it, I was like, oh, I get it, is, like, the warden being pregnant, and kind of some comments about that. I was like, oh, I did watch last season. But there was, like, so much that I didn't remember from last season. I was like, how did I forget so much? And I think it's because the characters like Mari and Kaz, and I don't care about them. Like, I cared about the characters the first couple seasons. In fact, I was thinking about this. I don't want to ruin it for anybody that hasn't seen it. But, you know, like, they killed off one of the best characters they killed off one of the best characters of any show ever. 1. 2. And maybe she comes back this season. I don't know. I'm only, like, halfway through the first episode. Not even, probably. They gave somebody else cancer. And then she left. But I think she may have died. I don't remember. And then another one of the great characters got out. And I'm like, I don't know, Orange is the New Black did a really great job, I think, of keeping up with the characters once they were out as well, and like showing them as part of the story. Wentworth doesn't do that. And, you know, in all honesty, I liked Wentworth more than I liked Orange is the New Black. So I don't know, maybe it'll just take me a couple episodes and then I'll get back into it. I also want to watch Unbelievable, and I also want to watch, what was the show my friend was telling me about today? A Good Place? The Good Place? We were talking about like watching like shows like The Real Housewives and stuff, which I watched for years and I still love, but like sometimes it, depending on my mood for the day, you know, if I'm a little sad or if I'm a little down, like I have a really hard time watching those shows. Like, I don't know, maybe it's, I don't know, I was gonna say maybe it's me getting older, but I don't think that's really necessarily it. Sometimes when I'm like kind of sad or I've had a rough day and, you know, I'm trying to get into gratitude, or I've just dealt with a lot of crap or whatever, it's like those shows seem so toxic, they don't make me feel any better, you know? And we were talking about it, and he said that he and his wife watch this show called The Good Place, and with Kristen Bell. He said it was really good. So I'm gonna maybe try to watch that too. He said like the first 3 seasons were on Netflix, and I looked it up, and it was on there. He said it's about somebody that like passes and then they're in heaven and then they're like not supposed to be there, but they like try to stay there or something. I don't know. So yeah, that's what I did. And then I went to bed and I got a good night's sleep, and I got up today and I went and got my hair cut. I had my hair appointment today, and that was fun. And what else? Talked to Alex's friend Sarah for a while, and she's gonna be our neighbor, like right down the street. I'm so excited. And so that's cool. And what else happened today? I didn't go to my meeting tonight, and I got all my stuff running late, and so I was like, I'm not gonna go tonight. Plus, I've been doing so much sobriety stuff this week. For me to miss my home group 1 week is not gonna kill me. And so I waited for Alex to get home, so I was doing a live stream because he went out to dinner with another friend of ours, Sarah went to, and I had the sober thing. That was like earlier in the evening that I was going to try to go to that and the meeting, and I was like, when I got done with that, I was like, I'm just going home. So I went home, and yeah, then Alex was like, I can, you know, bring you something if you want. And so he brought me fried rice and veggie fried rice and veggie spring rolls from this Thai place that they went to. And he had pad thai. Is that how you say it? Pad thai? Pad thai? Pad thai. I don't know. And, oh, then we watched American Horror Story in 1984. I think it's gonna be so good this season. It's about, like, the Night Stalker, which, of course, I know a lot about because of the True Crime Book Club, and so Mel and I talk a lot about this kind of stuff. I've read a lot of articles about the Night Stalker, seen a lot of documentaries, and then it's also about, it's kind of like picks little pieces of several different, like, major horror movies or horror franchises, excuse me, from the 80s, and plays it out. There were, like, so many things in there. I was like, if you aren't, like, a lover of classic films or classic, you know, scary movies, you'd probably miss. But there's so many pieces that are, like, in there that are fantastic. And, like, some 90s movies, too. It wasn't just, like, 80s movies, but the majority of them were, like, 80s movies. Like, anyway. Alex is like, is this supposed to be really cheesy? And I said, I think it's supposed to be like that. But it was good. And it seems scary to me, so I'm excited about watching it. I'm just not used to watching a show that you can't binge watch, you know? I wonder if there'll ever be like a day, I'm sure there is, I'm sure we're right around the corner from it actually, where we don't have like TV shows on TV anymore, where it's all just like streaming networks and you can watch a TV show like the whole thing all at once, you know? Because everybody seems to love to do that these days. Instead of like waiting and watching, you know, an episode a week. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. I started also last night, I listened to like the first 15 minutes of it. My friend Anna, which is the our book club book for September. I can't remember what the woman's name is that wrote it. And I also watched an interview with her on like some Australian news show. I'm not sure I'm going to be real interested in this book. I was really excited about reading it when we picked it. And then I got into it, and I don't know, there's something about her voice that kind of bothers me. Not her voice, like the voice of like how she wrote the book, if that makes sense. She narrated it in the audiobook. It's real easy to listen to. I mean, it sounds like you're just listening to a friend tell a story. But when you're listening, it's the wording of how things are said. And, you know, I have to say it reminds me a little bit of, I think it was a recovery memoir, and I think it was called Woman Walks Out of a Bar. I read it like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. I don't know. I hated it. I thought it was horrible. And I just remember like her and her friends like sitting around, and she knew she was going to treatment, but they were like putting it off, and they were like, all of her friends were like making fun of it. And I don't know. There just was something to the tone of that book that was really a turnoff to me. And it's very similar to me with my friend Anna. And maybe that will change. I don't know, but it seems to me like she wrote it to an audience that very much has her same life, which she's a photo editor for Vanity Fair magazine. I mean, that's a pretty, you know, prestigious job. And it kind of seems like she's talking to people that would have similar jobs or something like that. I don't know. I don't often feel like this in books. And like that book, Woman Walks Out of a Bar, or whatever it's called, Girl Walks Out of a Bar or whatever. Like I felt like I was being talked down to, like in the book. And that's similar in this book. But like I said, I'm only 15 minutes into it, so I don't know. I think when you're writing, but you know, like in the interview, she seemed very sweet and humble when not the person, the one that took all the money, but the other one. I think the girl's name that is Anna Delvini or something like that. Why can't I remember the girl's name that wrote the book? But the intro, I will say the introduction was great. Was it the introduction or was it the interview I watched? Maybe it was the interview I watched. She said in this interview, I just Googled her name and watched the first interview. And one of the things was interesting was she was talking about, they asked her, they said something about how this Anna, what she wore to court. Because apparently she wore real fashionable clothes to court, and she afforded this very expensive attorney and things like that. And they asked her how she thought she could afford that, and she said, well, she optioned her story to Netflix. And so they paid her up front, basically. You know, it's interesting, that's an interesting conversation when you talk about true crime. When we read, Carrie Rawlins' book about her father, who is a BTK killer, one of the things that people consistently brought up, which I thought was interesting, was family members of victims profiting off of other people's tragedies. You know, and I think that's interesting, that this woman who has scammed all these people out of money, okay, hundreds of thousands of dollars, then sells her story to Netflix. So basically Netflix pays for her defense, of which this girl took her to civil court and she lost. I'm not to that part of that book yet, but like that's interesting to me, right? So Netflix is part of that to some degree. I think it's interesting. Maybe, maybe not, but in how we look at that, you know. I kind of do have an issue with that, in all honesty. I mean, it's not necessarily the family. I think, like, when you're reading these people's books, like, it's not really their responsibility of what happened, and no, they shouldn't be blamed for it, and I feel for them, you know? Like, this is kind of like this back and forth thing with, like, I don't know, maybe I would have to read another true crime book written by a family member, but, like, I feel like if you're gonna do that, like, and maybe they did, and I'm not aware of this, a certain amount of money should be donated, or, you know, to the families of the victims, or, you know, 50% you make, 50% you give away to the families of the victims, or something like that, because, I mean, you wouldn't be writing the book unless it had happened, right? I just think it's sad. I don't know. But, you know, that was something I hadn't even thought about with reading true crime. I don't know, I guess the same could be said for really anybody, right? That would write a true crime book. That the story wouldn't be out there. I mean, they're profiting off of the tragedy, right? Of what happened. But then isn't that what nonfiction is to begin with, I guess? You know, when you write about anything, whether it be like Jim Jones or, you know, I don't know how I feel about that. I'd be interested to know what you guys think about that. Put it in the comment section, you know? Like, if a writer of a true crime book, I mean, they're profiting basically off the tragedy and the misery of others. How do we feel about that? Okay, the battery died. I actually thought it was totally charged up, but it wasn't. And I'm sitting in the middle of this neighborhood. It's cute in here. Anyway, I was talking about, you know, that sounds weird. The car sounds weird. Sound like my air conditioning or something. I was talking about, you know, like, these people making money off of writing their memoirs, you know, of basically, I don't know, what do we think about that, you know? Leave it in the comment section below what you think. I'd be interested to know what you guys said, like I said. I want to get a little bit more into the book before I see what I really think about it, though. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm getting a lot of mixed responses about it. Some people are saying they finished it in a day and they loved it. Other people are saying they finished it in 2 days and loved it. Other people are saying they finished it in 2 days and it was horrible. Other people are saying they DNF'd it, which means did not finish it. There's just a lot of different opinions about it. So, I don't know. I'm interested. I'm hoping it's good. I think, like, I was really in the mood to read something kind of scary this month, you know? I don't know. And then I started that, and I was like, like, I'm just like, this isn't what I wanted to read, you know what I mean? I get kind of in the mood for something, and like on the heels of Lock Every Door, I was like, okay, I'm ready to read more scary stuff. I need to get back into Helter Skelter because I'm way behind on that book, but I am finishing that book. I am finishing it, and we're going to do the live stream on it, and I'm going to finish Helter Skelter. Because what's the saying, come hell or high water, I am finishing that damn book. I've wanted to finish that book for 3 or 4 years. Well, how long have I been on BookTube? 3 years. I wanted to finish that book for 3 years. I'm finishing that book. We're going to San Diego next week. I cannot wait. So the music festival is Friday and Saturday night. So when Alex originally was like, oh, we're gonna go to this music festival, blah, 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 do you wanna go? Or would you rather just like do your own thing while you're in there? Because I said that I was gonna maybe go, like TwitchCon is there, and I'm gonna meet up with Aphrodite at some point. And I said, it's like a small music festival, and it's like real kind of like trancey music, which I don't love. It's like a mix between trancey and housey music. And I like house music, but I don't love trancey music. And so I was like, I don't know that I really want to go. And he was like, okay. And I was like, do you care? And he was like, no, I don't care at all. And I guess it's only like in the evening, and it's only 2 days of the 5 days that we're going to be there. He was like, you don't care that I go? I was like, no, I don't care that you go at all. I'll just like go out to dinner or something, or, you know, do my thing. I said, or I might just go like one night. So we were talking the other night, and he was like, do you want to go? Are you wanting to go to the music festival? And I said, I don't know. I don't think so. Why? He goes, this is totally us, right? He goes, because the tickets are sold out. So if you want to go now, there's no tickets. You're going to have to like, you know, buy a ticket that day off of somebody. And I was like, so I can't go now if I want to go? Now, because my choices are limited, I can't go if I want to go. I was like, okay. When in reality, I didn't even really care if I went to the music festival or not, so. I'm just excited for the trip. I've never been to San Diego. I cannot wait to go to San Diego. I heard it's beautiful. We have absolutely no plans. But my brother-in-law and his girlfriend are going to show us all around. She's got all kinds of things planned. They are so excited for us to come. They want to like rent a boat one day. They're all like real careful. They're like, would you want to rent a boat? Like, would you do it with your fear of sharks? And I was like, yeah, like a paddle boat. Like, cause she was like, well, she had mentioned something to Alex about doing paddle boats in the ocean. I said, I'm not doing that. And he was like, why not? And he was like, would you really not? I go, I'm not doing a paddle boat in the ocean. I'm not doing it. And he was like, are you sure? I go, no, I'm not doing it. Like, people think like this fear of shark thing is a joke for me. Like, no, it's not a joke. Like, I'm not doing it. I'm not putting myself in situations like that where I'm going to be afraid and miserable the whole time. Listen, I'm going to tell you something I learned, okay? If you're in your 30s or you're in your late 20s, or I don't care how old you are, or if you're in your 40s and you haven't learned this lesson yet, let me tell you this lesson, okay? And I actually learned this from my friend Tanya Jean, right? You're on this earth for a very short period of time. Yes, it is important to suit up and show up to many things in your life, right? But you also have the right to reserve the answer no for things that you don't want to do. And you don't have to do things that are going to make you fearful and bitter, okay? And if that's going to be something that they're going to have a better time doing if you're not present, let them go do it. It's just not that big of a deal, right? So, but they wanted to include me in this whole boat thing. So Jesse was like, well, if we got like a boat, like we can get like a, you know, like a captain to take us out, or we can do like a dinner cruise or whatever. And I said, oh, I would totally do a dinner cruise. And she was like, you would? And I said, oh yeah, I think that would be fun. She's like, well, where you get dressed nice and we go on a dinner cruise? I said, oh yeah, I'm totally down to do all that. So I think we're going to do that one night, but I don't need to be going on no paddle boat. Okay. I just don't. And I don't need to overcome my fears with sharks. I just don't feel like that strongly about it. I don't need to test my fears on that, you know? So anyway, I get in the ocean, I swim in the ocean, I'm totally fine with that. Somebody like commented on, I think it was my review video today, because I said something about sharks, or I don't know what it was, somewhere I said something about sharks. Oh no, it was on my rant video. They said, you do realize that sharks are like in, like, they were from Florida, and they left me this comment and said, hey, just wanted to let you know that like sharks are more in shallow water than they are in deep water. Oh yes, I'm very well of that. When we went to Miami, I think it was 2 years ago, we were like sitting in the beach in front of where we sit, you know, like right in front of, well, right there on Ocean Drive, you know, right by like 13th and Ocean Drive. We were sitting there, and like exactly where we were a week later, we had left, and our friend was sitting right there, and she was she like walked up to the edge because they were saying there was a shark in the water, and she literally was recording it on her phone, where probably an 8 or, oh, I don't know how big it was. It wasn't small. I'd say 7, 8 feet shark was literally swimming within 5 feet of the shore, and it was just going like this. And I have been swimming probably 100 feet out farther past that. No, ma'am. I would have lost it. So yes, I'm very well aware that there are sharks in shallow water, and thank you for letting me know that. I appreciate that. And I mean that in all sincerity. Now I'm scared to death to even go in shallow water. But, there's a bunch of things Jesse wants to take us to do, and Fufu and her have both like got it all settled out and like what they want to. I'm excited about it. It'll be fun. They love to have people visit them. Alex wants me to ride that scooter thing. He's like, are you going to try the scooter thing? I said, we have the scooters here if I really wanted to do those bird scooter things. He was like, yeah, but they're more fun out there. And I go, okay, I'll try it. It'll be fun. Like, let's do it. Let's try all kinds of stuff. So I'm excited about that. And then, yeah, I'm just going to like walk around and those nights that they're there, I'll probably find a place to go eat dinner by myself somewhere. I kind of, in all honesty, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but like I enjoy that. Or like getting room service and just sitting in the room and watching watching movies, or like, you know, like taking a walk on like the beach or whatever. Like I enjoy that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's gonna be fun. And we have like 2 whole days that like they're not gonna be available until the evenings too, which then that'll give us like time during the day. I kind of like to just lay on the beach or go to the pool or something like that during the day if it's still nice out there. I don't know what the temperature is going to be like out there, but I'm sure if it's like 88 here like it was today, it's probably still going to be warm out there, I would think. I've got to lose 25 pounds before next week when we leave. Yeah, as if. Do you remember we used to always say that, as if? What was that from the movie Clueless? I was trying to think, what is the thing that Madonna used to say all the time in the Blonde Ambition tour? What was that movie? Truth or Dare? I love that documentary so much. That's probably one of my favorite documentaries too. What was that thing she used to say in there all the time? She would say something. Celebration, come together in every nation. I'm probably a bigger Madonna fan than anybody knows. I love Madonna. Oh my Lord. I'm gonna crash tonight. And I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go into my training. And I'm not gonna eat fried rice tomorrow. I'm gonna eat healthy food tomorrow. Why can't I think of what that was that Madonna said? I know somebody's like shouting it out right now. She used to say it all the time in that show. And then Paris Hilton said on The Simple Life, that's hot, all the time. Do you remember that? Oh my God, I love that show, The Simple Life. Around that time, I watched like The Simple Life, every episode. The Anna Nicole Smith show. Anna Nicole. I watched that like every episode. So tragic. Makes me so sad. Did they ever find out if she ever got any of that Marshall's money? That Danny Lynn is really pretty. Have you seen pictures of her? She looks just like her daughter. She looks just like Anna Nicole. I remember seeing Anna Nicole Smith on like the Johnny Carson show when she was a guest model. I think it still was the Johnny Carson show. It was long before whoever Jay Leno came on. I don't know, maybe it was Jay Leno at that point, but whoever it was. Maybe she was on David Letterman. She came on and I remember her coming out there and she looked gorgeous. Do you guys remember those original guest ad pictures with her? I mean, she changed everything. You know, we talk about these models today. It's like, we talk about, you know, all of these celebrity kid models like the Hadids, and we talk about like, you know, Kendall Jenner and all these people. Like, I mean, Anna Nicole Smith changed some stuff about how we look, you know, at things. Plus, she was small when she started modeling, if you guys remember. I mean, she was like smaller than she was as she got older, but she was still plus size. I mean, it was kind of a change. Like her waist was small and stuff, but like overall, I mean, she was more of a plus. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Who's the one that I really love that was like the very first like plus size model that was Sports Illustrated? Is that Ashley Graham? Is that her name? it's important that we see all sizes of people and all looks of people and things like that in the public or in magazines, and you know, because I think that's what we look to when we grow up. I remember there was a magazine, I think it was called Sassy, maybe. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? And it was for like teenage girls. It was like Teen Cosmo or whatever, but it was like fashion and whatever. And I remember reading this book by the editor, and she had like taught some conference or something, and then I didn't go to the conference, but like I got this book, and I remember on the front of it, she was like the editor-in-chief of Sassy magazine, I think as well. I think it was Sassy magazine. And she was sitting on the front of it, and she had like her, like, she was in like overalls and like this flannel shirt, and then like these Converse, like Chuck Taylors, and then like these crazy socks, and I think she had a tie on or something, and like some fun hat, and she was on the cover of this book, just sitting there with her legs crossed, and she was talking about, like, the whole book was about the importance of like seeing representation in magazines. So, you know, like, and talking about like girls, like if you are the flat-chested girl or the big-breasted girl in high school, it's important that you see all of those looks, right? And, you know, and then it talked about like bullying between girls, and girls bully the girl that's too tall or has too many freckles or is too flat-chested or too big-breasted. You know, we don't talk about that enough, I don't think, you know? That, like, we always want to talk about bullying just being about this, this, and this, right? Instead of it being about all these different things. Bullying is about picking somebody out that is identified as different and making them feel even more different, you know? And in all of my work that I've done with bullying, and I've done quite a bit of anti-bullying advocacy, one of the things I've learned is that you hear so many different people's unique stories, but the emotion and the theme is similar, and how they feel, what it does to them, how it belittles them as a human being, how their self-worth is minimized by it, how they feel like they don't have any power or control and that they live in fear. But whether it's because you're too skinny and somebody's telling you every day at school, you need to eat a cheeseburger, you need to eat a cheeseburger, you need to eat a cheeseburger, and that can be in the workplace too when you're 35. It doesn't have to be when you're 16 years old, right? Or whether you're super heavy and, you know, growing up, you've always been heavy or whatever, and you struggle with your weight and people are making fun of you for your weight at school, or whether you have freckles, or whether your hair is frizzy, or whether your hair is too curly or too straight, or whether you're gay or effeminate acting or too masculine, or the voice is funny, or, you know, whatever the thing is that you're being made fun of for, whatever it is, you know? The feeling that it does to us is similar. So it doesn't really matter why they're picking us, you know what I mean? And that's what I really realized over time. But what's also similar about it is that when you talk to the bully, okay, the reasons why they do it are all pretty similar as well. And so you have a person over here that is diminished, their self-worth is lowered, and they're made to feel less, and they believe in it, and they live in constant fear, okay? And then you have this person over here that is seeking acceptance and validation, which is what a lot of it is, because they want to be the center of attention. Why? Are they not getting attention at home? Is it make them feel better as a person? Do they have low self-worth and so it builds them up? You know, it's all of these things together, right? So what they're doing is they're doing it, and it has nothing to do with that person. It's usually never personal whatsoever. So when you can sit the bully and the bullied down together, okay? And I learned this because this is what happened between me and my bully. When we sat down together in our 30s, but wouldn't it be great if this could happen much before that, to do anti-bullying advocacy in the schools. If you could have schools do this and have somebody come in that was trained and have the bully and the bullied, you know, the bully and the bullied sit down and talk to each other and share stories of who they were as human beings, and have them committed that they had to do, let's say, 6 things together, you know, where they would have to sit down there and tell stories of each other, and start seeing each other as human beings, I think it would stop. I think we would stop seeing this happen as much. I really do. Do I think there would still be isolated incidents? Yeah, I really do, because I think that we live in a really scary world today. When I was getting my master's degree, I remember we read this book, and it was called, it was such a great book. I always get the title wrong. I think it was called Fist, Knife, Gun. And it was about the fact that, like, if you looked at, I've talked about this on here, but it's been a long time. It was talked about, we like read this book and we analyzed it in this class, and it was such an interesting book to read, because it was talking about how, you know, in the 50s and the 60s and the early 70s, well, 50s and the 60s, it was like fist, right? Like, if I was at school and I was gonna fight you, like, I would say, 3 o'clock out back, we're gonna, like, you know, we're gonna swing, and, like, I'm gonna punch your lights out or whatever, okay? And that was what it was. It was a fight. And we still see some of that today, but it was a fight, and everybody in a circle and watching it and whatever, right? So that was like the 50s and the 60s. Well, then we have the 60s and the 70s. Now, you have to mind you, I was in school in the 90s. So then we have, you know, the 50, that was the 50s and the 60s. Then we have the 60s and the 70s and the early 80s, right? And that was knifing people. And so then fights were all about knifing people. Well, then flash forward to the 80s and the 90s, crime like that and violence changed to guns, okay? So the weapon changed. And over the course of time, the weapon had, you know, changed. And it went from a fist to a knife to a gun. But the aggression and the anger and the rage never really changed inside. Like, it was the same if you looked at, like, these studies that have been done over a period of time. Like, the anger from the person in the 50s was not a whole lot different than the anger from the person in the 90s. How they transposed that anger was totally different, right? And it was really interesting looking at that. And, you know, it makes you kind of wonder, like, I don't want to get into a whole discussion about this on my channel, and, you know, because I know everybody has different degrees of, you know, belief systems about that, but it makes you wonder why, like, if you look at it from that point of view, right, as anger staying the same, but the course of the weapon changing, well, so is the availability of those things. The availability of certain weapons has changed, too. You know, we didn't have semi-automatic guns in the 50s. We just didn't, right? How many school shootings did we see in the 50s? Well, why is that? Is that because we lived in a more neighborly environment? Well, sure, maybe, okay? Or maybe anger has always been there. It's always resonated within people. We saw horrific crimes in the 50s and the 60s. Why is this out of focus? Come on. Come on. So I don't know, you know, like, is it that the weapon of choice changed over time, and that, you know, now they're more available, and so that's why we're seeing all of these, like, you know, school shootings and things? I don't know, it's scary to me, it's sad, and I don't know the answer to it, you know? I don't know, I think we're gonna have, I think, like, to solve any of that, you know, is really about taking all of our opinions and putting them aside, and almost kind of having, like, a peaceful symposium where we can sit down and this person over here can say, well, but I still want my right to this. And this person can over there can say, well, I understand. I mean, could we, like, maybe if we could all see that the common good is solving the problem, that we don't want any more people, any more unnecessary lives lost. Okay, I understand this person doesn't want their rights taken away from them, and this person doesn't want to lose a child, and this person feels this way. But maybe if we put all of our opinions aside, right, and we could actually talk to one another like adults. Like, I don't know, it makes me sad sometimes. I think, could we be solving these problems a little bit more if we left our opinions at the door and we started, you know, and not just with that, but with a lot of things, you know, and we left our opinions at the door and we tried to start, like, hey, like, let me look at you as a human being. I understand where you're coming from, right? Like, I understand your background and your history, okay? So, my best friend and I, my best friend of over 22 years, 23 years now, we have very different beliefs on stuff, very different backgrounds, okay? That has never stopped us from being able to have an intellectual conversation, a discussion, right? And I have over time changed my opinions about some things, and so has she, by being open to having that conversation. What has happened that we are not able to have a conversation with each other in our society anymore? You know, I think that's really the thing. It's not about anybody being right or wrong. It's about, we need to be able to sit down and have a conversation about these things, an open, honest conversation where everybody's opinions are heard. Not that somebody's right or somebody's wrong, you know? Where can we meet in the middle? Are there some ways that, I don't know, it makes me sad, and not just about that, but about so many things that have happened over time, you know, like, I don't know. The bullying thing is a huge thing, like, you know. Oh, it's gonna stop, hold on. You know, I talk about this a lot on my videos. One of the things I don't understand is this. That, you know, I graduated from high school in 1990. I was bullied horrifically. I know I was not the only one. I actually had somebody reach out to me. I did a video on my main channel about bullying in my story. And they reached out to me and they said, I could not believe this. And I didn't even really remember this person. They said, I don't know if you remember me, but we graduated from high school together. And they said I was horrifically bullied just like you were. But they told me for what? It was something completely different. Here we were both living our own hells together, individually. And I didn't know someone else was going through it. And I'm sure it wasn't just this person. I'm sure there were 50 other people that were probably going through very similar things, right? What would that have been like if we could have all sat down and talked about that? And talked about our feelings or emotions about that? What if we had programs set up in schools to actually talk about those things, okay? Corny, probably. We probably would have called it that. You know, but I don't know. Maybe we would have looked at things differently. But I'll tell you something else that's interesting to me is I don't remember a whole lot of suicides and deaths as a result of being bullied in high school. When I went to high school, I don't remember hearing about it on the news. I don't remember about feeling that way. I knew that I had to deal with it, but I don't remember that being an option. Well, we're 30 years down the road, and I sure as hell know a lot about it today. I see it on the news. I hear about it all the time. It just seems to get worse and worse and worse. Why is that an option today? You know, why are we not sitting down and talking about this? In a lot of schools, if you talk to a lot of schools, will say, well, we don't have a problem with bullying, and we have bullying protocol in place. And yet people are still dying, you know? It makes me really, really sad. And I don't for one second think that I have any of the answers. I don't. I wish I did, but I think that we have to start talking to each other like human beings, and even if somebody else's opinion, if spoken in a correct, appropriate, compassionate way, if their opinion does not match with mine about a serious issue, right? Like, why can't we respect each other on the fact that I don't agree with your opinion, or I don't agree with your stance on how this should be handled? But let me listen to you, and then will you listen to me? And then can we have a conversation, and maybe you can tell me why you're coming from that point of view, and maybe I can tell you where I'm coming from, and maybe we can learn about each other a little bit. Why are we so afraid of that? I really don't understand it. Why are we so gung-ho on just coming for somebody and just tearing them apart and mutilating them over their opinion? Like, I really don't understand it. I just don't, you know? It really, really makes me sad. And you know, the thing is that when I see it, and I am not, listen, I'm not talking about YouTube beauty influencer drama, okay? On like YouTube. I'm talking about much more serious things that go on in our world. Not that that's not serious to some people, I'm sure, okay? But I'm saying that I'm talking about the things that are leading to death, things like that, right? What has happened where we can't just sit down and have a conversation with one another? You know, like, that if you don't agree with me, blah, 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 whatever. And then I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were telling me that, like, somebody that they knew likes to like just rile stuff up on Facebook and just like put out these like blatant statements. Like, this is part of why I don't go over to Facebook, you know, is because people just get real irritated over there. And then it's like, then they want to come out and it's like it's just this aggression back and forth. And I just don't really understand why you would just want to just rile somebody up for no reason, you know? People, a lot of times, I think, have very personal responses to things because they have very personal stories attached to it, you know? So, for example, if you feel like completely anti this, right? It's probably because you have some personal story attached to that. And if you feel pro the other way with whatever issue it is, it's probably because you have some personal issue attached to it, right? Okay. Well, if that's the case, why can't we share that with one another? Like, it makes me sad. Well, let me tell you the way I feel about this. I don't mince words when it comes to addiction. You know, I just don't. I tell you why I feel the way that I do. I tell you, listen, I got sober. I lost 12 years of my life to it. 12 years. I started using when I was 12 years old, and I got sober when I was, 22 and a half years old, and I lost my childhood to drugs and alcohol. I gave them away. I've lost friends. I've lost family members. I am very, very personally affected by addiction. But the flip side to that is that it also saved my life. I wouldn't have what I have today. This whole car smells like Old Spice right now, just so you know. I wouldn't have what I have today or be who I am had it not been for the drugs and alcohol that led me to recovery that gave me the life that I have today. So as angry as I get at drugs and alcohol, I'm very thankful too. It's just a double-edged sword for me. But I don't mince words about that. So, if you were to say to me, well, I believe in this, let's sit down and talk about it, right? People are very mystified often with me, like why I believe in the decriminalization of marijuana, okay, as an addict. Because I do personally believe that you can be physically addicted to marijuana. I believe I was one of those people. And I think that withdrawal symptoms to marijuana look like rage, they look like anger, they look like sleep problems that we write off as other things. But those have kind of been documented at this point, and most, scientists and medical professionals know that you can be chronically addicted to marijuana, just like you can to any other substance, like caffeine, nicotine, anything. You can be chronically addicted to it. Do I think that everybody that smokes pot is chronically addicted to marijuana? No. Do I think that if you smoke a little bit, you're chronically addicted? No, I don't, right? But just to use Indiana as an example, and I don't know the specific statistics today, but this is what they used to be. 80%, okay, was the recidivism rate for women that left our prison systems and Department of Corrections, and the recidivism rate of them reoffending and going back in was 80%. The majority of those women, it was like 80 to 100% of those women that were back, that reoffended, were back in the system for failed drug screens for marijuana. Now, we're talking about women, okay, that have kids who are now in foster care, that they are not able to be there for their kids. Many of which, got into the Department of Corrections anyway because of having boyfriends or husbands and partners that they covered for. So they've been in the system, they've been in the system, they've been in the system. So instead of us trying to help these women and get them out of the system, we continue to put them in placements of, and then if you reoffend, you don't just go back for 3 months. You typically go back for a longer stint, right? So you're in there for a year, let's say. So we're now paying to house somebody for a year for a failed drug screen for marijuana, okay? Which I don't know if they're chronically using. But what happens then is, in our systems, our Department of Corrections is way filled anyway. Halfway houses are way filled from people that are getting out of these getting out of prison systems and things like that. So there's nowhere for people to go that need the help. And then we're not filling these spaces with people that are really doing like true crime. Like, we don't have that. We're wasting money and space, okay? And I'm not saying just to write it off, but I also think that we have to destigmatize marijuana too, because I think that there are a lot of great medical benefits for Marinol, which is the pill form of marijuana. And, you know, in the state of Indiana, I think the only thing that you can use Marinol for is AIDS patients. I could be wrong, but I think that's it. Maybe cancer, I'm not sure, I don't know. Pain management. But I don't believe you can use it for pain management in the state of Indiana. But, you know, I think that we have to destigmatize that stuff. But I don't have I don't have huge personal issues attached to that, except for the fact that it breaks my heart that we're seeing women continue to reoffend and reoffend and reoffend, and then their kids are in the system, and then their kids begin offending, and then it's this non-stop cycle over and over and over and over and over again. But when are we going to stop the cycle? And people are always surprised by me about that. But, you know, I'm more than willing to sit down and have a conversation with somebody all day long about the decriminalization of marijuana. But you know, the violence that also goes on with street dealing and things like that, okay? Which we don't talk a lot about that. We don't talk about it being a cash crop, and it being one of America's biggest cash crops, you know? Or the fact that we have in every major city tons and tons and tons and tons of street dealers, and people that are over them, and people that are over them, and people that are over them. What happens to those people when you legalize the marijuana and other drugs? Okay, what happens to that? So that's the other side of it that I don't know anything about, you know, and I think that we need to be having educated conversations about this, instead of just, it's my right to smoke pot, I want to smoke pot. Well, okay, that's probably not for the person that's really being offended by it, you know what I mean? That's not by the person that's probably, you know, that they're directly getting affected by it, if that makes sense. Like, so I don't know, I wish we were having more educated conversations about these issues, you know, instead of people just getting personally offended and saying, like, you know what, I should be able to smoke pot if I want to smoke pot. Well, it goes a little deeper than all of that, you know? And then we need to have regulations around that as well, I think. So that people, I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't really care a whole lot about that kind of stuff. I know I am never going to live in a time where things like cocaine and heroin are illegal, so I don't have to worry about that. Marijuana, you know, people say it's a gateway drug sometimes. Well, anything can be a gateway drug, I truly believe. I think a beer can be a gateway drug. I think a beer was my gateway drug. You know, I just think anything can be. And I think the first thing that you use that you like is a gateway drug. But just because I believe in the decriminalization of marijuana, like, people ask me this all the time, so then you would smoke pot? No, I got a liquor store right up the street. I can't drink legally. I mean, I can drink legally, but I can't drink. I'm not successful at drinking, you know what I mean? Like, once I start, I don't stop. And it's very much the same for me with smoking pot. But that doesn't mean that I don't believe that other people can do that. I totally believe that other people can smoke pot and they don't have the same problems that I do. You know, but I'm very passionate about the people that they can't, and it's affecting their lives. Why can't we just have conversations about this stuff? Why are we so scared? And then if you don't like my opinion, then screw off, whatever. You know, it's like, why can't we just have opinions about things? But at the same time, it's like, people want to be really, you know, whatever. But one thing I will always stand by is my belief about addiction, and that it's not spoken enough about in this country, and that it is very, very serious. You know what I mean? Like, I'll listen to you all day long. I'll listen to what you have to say. And if you, like, when people come to me and they start spouting things that are not true, I'm quick to correct them, and I know what I'm talking about when it comes to that stuff. You know, and It's scary to me, you know? I feel very blessed too that like I had parents that felt very strongly and very passionately about what they believed in. But I would also see them explain it, you know, why they felt that way. Or, you know, and my parents did not necessarily agree on a lot of things when it came to big issue stuff. Well, I mean, like issue stuff, like they didn't really care about. But when it came to, you know, the big stuff, like they didn't sometimes agree on stuff. I feel blessed though, you know, like, I don't know, I just feel blessed that I was able to go to my parents and ask them questions whenever I had questions about things that I didn't understand, and that it made me feel stupid for that, and, you know, if they didn't understand something, you know, they would send me to somebody that did, and, or try to educate themselves on it, you know. I have rambled and preached tonight, haven't I? I've been on Facebook a little bit more lately than I usually am. And I don't know why I've been like checking it every day. And I think it's kind of lit a fire under me, because I see so many people that have all of these like really, really strong opinions about stuff. Like just like out of the blue, right? Like they just have some random opinion about something, and the tone is just so like let me tell you something, right? Can I say this on the heels of me getting really like heated about the decriminalization of marijuana? Listen, I'm totally open to being proved wrong, okay? I'll just say this all day long. I'm totally open to being proved wrong. Except for the things that I'm right about. Now, when I say that I like correct people if they say things, like this is what I mean. When people say to me like, oh, you can't be drug tested for like LSD, it has to be in like a spinal tap. No, that's incorrect. Okay, you can drug test for anything in urine, anything. And you can actually pay extra, and like let's say if somebody is like huffing Glade or Febreze, they can tell you if it's the difference between Glade and Febreze. That is how like to the point our drug screens are right now in our country or in our world, right? So when people say, oh, you have to like, you know, do a spinal tap, no, that's crap. That's not true. There's no such thing as like contact highs from marijuana. That's a myth. Trust me, I know. I've been trained enough in enough conferences. I've had enough addictionologists, enough doctors to sit in a room and tell me these things over and over and over again. Smoking marijuana does affect your driving. Okay, it's been proven. There have been tons of scientific studies done to prove it. You know, where they've like even had like pilots do simulated landings and people driving simulated cars after they've gotten high, and they've proven it. It does affect your driving. On and on and on. Those are the things that I like would correct somebody about. But if they really wanted to fight about it, I'd be like, just believe what you want to believe. I don't really care. But I just wish that we could have more of a conversation, you know, like, I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't seem to me like we're really solving a whole lot of problems these days, you know? Does it you? Has this camera been out of focus the entire night? I don't know. It's driving me nuts. I keep on looking at it and I feel like it's out of focus. I have this friend of mine in recovery, and he was older. And people would, he's passed since, but and not from addiction. He passed sober, but people would always ask him if he watched the news, and he'd say, ah, hell, I don't watch that stuff. Something happens, people let me know. And I think I had like a grandparent that said that too, you know? It's like, and I kind of think that way sometimes. It's like, I watch the news and I educate myself on what's going on, because there was a period where I just didn't keep up with the issues, and now I feel like I need to know. Like, I feel like it's important for me to know. But it makes me sad. It's just, there's so much fighting. that goes on. I don't like that, you know? I don't like... You know, it's weird. It's like... In the last year, I have focused so hard on finding a place of peace and serenity on a daily basis and being content. And that, you know, I say this on a regular basis, that my peace and serenity is not a luxury to me. And I work so hard on it every day. And it's almost like, you know, like when you're up a lot at night and then you get up one day early and it's like really bright outside, or, you know, you're like going to a cave and you never really realized how bright it was until you came out of the cave, and then you realized how bright it was. It's like, since I have like really tried to just focus on my peace and serenity in the last year and just kind of do my thing and whatever, I really never realized the amount of ugliness and toxicity and chaos that is out there, that I was part of, that I was putting out there too, and I was participating in it. I'm not saying that I wasn't, but I never really realized it until I stepped away from it, you know? And now it's like, it makes me sad. I see it, and I'm just like, whoa. And I still participate, I think, in it to some degree. You know, I'm not going to say that I don't always. But, like, at the same time, it's like... Like, I just see some stuff, and it just, you know, on social media, and it just, it makes me so sad. Like, step away from it for a while. Here, try this. Step away from it for 30 days. Go back, and trust me, you'll see what I see. You know, and just to take Facebook, for example. I have a friend of mine on Facebook, and like, I haven't seen him in a while, but I would say, I don't remember him being, like, extremely angry, and, like, the tone of, like, his posts and stuff has changed over time. But it's like every time, like, there's just daily posts, right? They're like several times a day. And they're always just very attacking and negative. And I'm like, it makes me sad for him. It doesn't make me, like, confused. It doesn't, you know, whatever. And it just, like, it makes me very sad. And there was last week, late last week, he said something, and I texted him, and I was like, hey, just checking in, because I was, like, worried, you know, like, and he didn't even respond, and I don't know, like, I just see this, and it makes me sad for people. It's like, it's just, like, I see that a lot. I see people, like, really filled with anger, you know, and I can't live in that space. I mean, I just really can't live there anymore. Tanya and I talk about that a lot, you know, that toxicity, you know, that when you're in it and you're living in it, you don't even realize it sometimes. I just don't even want anywhere near it. And it doesn't make me judgmental towards people that are. I've been there. I've been that person, you know? It makes me feel for them. It makes me sad for them. I don't think we see it when we're in it. Like, I don't really think we see how it's affecting us. Sure, it's affecting other people, but really at the core, it's affecting us. And it was really affecting me, you know? It was really affecting my attitude and my mood and my relationships with other people. It was gonna stop, hold on. Didn't I say this was gonna be short? Every night. But, like, I don't know. Here would be my, I just want to say this for anybody out there that's listening to this. If you relate to this at all, okay? If you find yourself, I don't know what is going on with this camera tonight, but it's driving me nuts. If you find yourself, okay, waking up and feeling negative or feeling pulled towards negativity and like getting real riled up about stuff, you know, take a step back, right? And ask yourself, what do I want my life to look like? Like, is this really truly how is this how I want to feel? And then ask yourself, where is it coming from? Is it coming from me watching news shows or The Real Housewives? Or is it coming from social media? Is it coming from Facebook? Is it coming from Twitter? Where is it? And distance yourself from whatever that is. And it also means distancing yourself from your own participation in that, right? And taking a look at who you are and what your part is in that. And then take some time away and then take, let's say, 30 or 60 days and really focus on finding some peace on a daily basis, whether that's taking a walk outside for 5 minutes or taking a bath or meditating to yourself or praying if you have a higher power or just doing deep breathing exercises or whatever, and finding kind of a peaceful state of mind. And don't visit that, right? You know, I watched this thing this was really, really helpful to me, and y'all know I love the scary movies, and I'm not going to stop watching them. But I watched this interview with RuPaul. I think it was with Oprah. I think I told you guys about this. And RuPaul said on there that Oprah asked him something like, you don't watch scary movies? And he was like, no, not at all. And he was like, you know, I don't believe in letting the dark in. I don't believe in letting the negative in. I only believe in letting the light in. And that really resonated with me. And I heard that at a time that I really, really needed to hear that. How much are we allowing the negative in? How much are we allowing ourselves to participate in the negative? Or how much are we participating in the light? You know, I want to participate in the light. I want my life to be that way today. I want it to be full of joy and happiness and peace and serenity. To whatever degree I can have that, you know? The thing is that at first, it's kind of like that fear of missing out. You feel like you're not part of something bigger than you know, like, because you're not doing that. But then over time, what you realize is, oh my God, this feels so much better. Like, this feels so much better. Like, I don't feel the pitter pat and all of that stuff anymore. Like, I don't need that. Like, keep it over there. Like, I don't want it. I don't need it, you know? Something smells like fresh baked bread all of a sudden in here. It's the weirdest smell. Am I dying? I'm going to the bakery in the sky. Where am I smelling that from? He's outside, so it's not me. Oh, is it that? Why is the Old Spice thing smelling? No. It's not outside, it's the car. It's the Old Spice. I'm smelling like something that's smelling like bread, but it's Old Spice thing. I know it sounds real hippie-ish. I know it does. But peace and serenity is where it's at today, I'm telling you. It's nice. I don't want to get worked up like that anymore. It's not worth it to me. I think you live longer, and if you don't live longer, at least you live happier, you know? I hope so, at least. Anyway, I'm gonna get off here now. This has gone a lot longer than I thought it would, so I hope you guys are having an amazing Thursday, unless you have other plans. But like I always say, do not have other plans. Make the most of your day. Do something exciting. Practice some peace and serenity in your day today. If you find yourself going to some toxicity, stop yourself and say, just for today, I'll do something different. You know? If you find yourself going to say something negative, instead say something positive. See how it works for you. Just try the opposite. See what happens. We always have options. We always have choices, you know? I think we forget that sometimes. Somebody upsets you at work, instead of cussing them out or, you know, whatever, do the opposite. I don't know, go buy them some French fries for lunch or something. It's hard to do this stuff sometimes, but trust me, this is the work that we have to do to get where we want to get. When they say to you, why are you buying me French fries? Say, I don't want to fight with you. It's just not that deep. I'm sorry I upset you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to fight with you. I don't want to fight with people. It's just not worth it, you know? And, yeah, don't forget, it's not a dress rehearsal. You're trading a day of your life for today, so. And I need to remember that. I need to remember that too. And if nobody else has told you this today, you know what I'm gonna say, don't you? Because I say it every day. I love you. Make sure that you look at yourself in the mirror every single day and you tell yourself, I love you, you are important, you matter, and you are valuable. Tell yourself all good things about yourself, but most importantly, make sure that you pass it on to somebody else and let them know how important they are, that they matter to you. There's a lot of people that don't get to hear it. And it was funny, somebody commented, because I said it on my main video today, my rant video. I said it, or yesterday I said something about it. If nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And they said that they were in recovery in Southern Indiana, and there was a guy that used to close every one of his shares that way. And I immediately thought, I wonder if my friend, if she knows him and that's where she learned it from. Nothing's original. It's all just stuff that we pass on. You know what I mean? That's the great thing about life. We just take a lesson, pass it on. Take a lesson, pass it on. Anyway, I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya. Love ya. Love ya.